Welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Bulgaria is poised to make a historic leap in European integration as it prepares to adopt the euro on 1st of January 2026, becoming the eurozone's 21st member after years of meeting economic convergence criteria and extensive coordination with EU institutions. Yet, public skepticism and recent political instability cast a shadow over this transition. Joining us today on TVP World to explain what this means for Bulgaria and the wider EU is Spasimir Domaradzki, political scientist at the University of Warsaw. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello.
So can you help us understand what does Bulgaria's accession to the eurozone signify in geopolitical and economic terms for the EU's eastern flank?
Well, I think that the first step is economic, and the advantages of joining the eurozone for Bulgaria are undisputable, having in mind that over 70% of its economic trade goes with the EU. This is a step that will further facilitate the economic integration. What is important in geopolitical terms is that indeed, if we look at the process of European integration, we have another country turning into a part of the European currency and closing a chapter of a very, I would say, in the Bulgarian case, awkward existence in between the Eurozone and the existence nominally of independent currency, but at the same time being tied to the European currency for the last 26 years. And this is a moment in which, in practical terms, we have a momentum where what de facto existed because Bulgaria couldn't conduct its own independent monetary policy for almost 30 years, that in practical terms now we have the ending of this formal process with joining the Eurozone.
All right, you mentioned the advantages of adopting the euro being undisputable, but we do still see some skepticism on the ground and even a persistent protest movement as well. Can you help us understand what are some of the grievances? Is it just people not getting used to a new system, or are there any economic factors into this?
In practical terms, there is no new system. You just replace one paper for another. What is much more important are the roots of this existing doubts whether this process is necessary. And I would highlight here two very important dimensions. The first one is that to a substantial extent, Bulgarians are not enthusiastic about joining the euro, but they're not enthusiastic not so much because they don't use the euro, but because of the way how the state functions. And this is a consequence of a long-lasting pattern of political process which perfectly fits to the logic of what we call in political science state capture, in which the public resources are being, in practical terms, privatized by the political elites, represented by people like Boyko Borisov and Delian Peevski. But the outcome of that is that actually people doubt whether the state institutions are capable of securing the efficient transition of the euro, because they are unable to guarantee, they lost the credibility among Bulgarians that they can take care and secure their interest. So in that sense, when we talk about the euro, the concerns are not so much about the currency per se. The concerns are about the role of the state in making sure that there will be no misuse of this process by particular elites. The second dimension is related to the question of of the pro-Russian impact and a very skillful manipulation of the public opinion by parties directly connected to Moscow, like Revival, but not only, openly raising the question of national identity. I just need to highlight the paradox of this, I would say, intellectual absurd, arguing that the national identity is relevant to the existence or non-existence of a particular currency.
Mhm.
If that was the case, then I think that half of the European nations would have never existed. But still, this argument, when strengthened by the sense of mistrust with the public authorities, plays well among at least certain fractions of the Bulgarian population.
Right, and this just in, we do have the footage of some people's opinion on the ground, so I would like to play that and get a little bit of your reaction afterwards. Let's take a look.
In the end, it was a must. With the signing of the documents for Bulgaria's accession to the EU, this was part of the requirements. First and foremost, it will further integrate our economy. And in the end, at least our central bank will become a full member of the European Central Bank family and will have the right to participate in decision-making. We have been tied to the euro with currency board for 28 years anyway.
I'm rather against the adoption of the euro because I fear that we will become poorer.
I think it is overdue because we should have adopted the euro a long time ago. I travel abroad so much that I'm used to the euro, and its adaptation won't make any impression on me. I simply pay with a different type of currency. Those who are accustomed to it will have no problem.
So yeah, we do see a mix of opinions here, and some of the concern is that people are worried about the adoption of the euro will, quote, make them poorer, and we do see that in several countries that are trying to adapt to it and meet a little bit of a bumpy road in the earlier stages. Do you think that this might be something of a concern when it comes to the case of Bulgaria?
Well, and this is where the role of the state is so important. And this is why my first argument was about this nexus between the general mistrust with the public institutions and the need to adopt the euro. There is no other shield against speculation. There is no other shield against taking the opportunity to increase prices than in the context of the euro, than the role of the state. And in that sense, it is the public institutions that need to stand up to the goal. The problem is that Bulgarians have seen so many times over the last years and over the last 2 decades, I would argue, when the public institutions, instead of securing the interests of their own people, were actually turning against that and were securing the interests of particular groups. So these concerns are not without justification, but we need to be aware that even the current government, which is at this point has resigned but is still in office, we need to be aware that a necessary information campaign was being introduced. Various levels of the public and local administration are sending signals that whatever is in their hands, they will do their best to make sure that that the rules being applied and introduced in the context of introducing the euro will be followed. Even I can quote the mayor of Sofia, who claimed that the citizens the inhabitants of Sofia can be nicely surprised because the tickets, the prices of the tickets can be slightly decreased because of the euro. So we have these different examples. And when it comes to the larger picture, we always see that there is a tendency in every single case for the introduction of the euro that the prices slightly go up. It is more visible and more tangible the poorer the societies, and it is less being discussed where the society has a better financial cushion. What is the case in Bulgaria? I think is that we see both things, and from the report that you showed, you can see that the common sense actually dominates much more than the narratives about how dangerous the currency is.
All right, thank you so much for your input and insight. We'll see how that develops. But in the meantime, thank you so much for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.